And here we have the new improved Air Jordan. Yeah.
We're whiting.
Yeah, with some white in it. Now you get a little something for each of these sold, don't you?
Yeah, you're working at it.
What a deal! What a deal! You're Mr. Operator.
It's more distracting you talking about asking me if it's distracting about what to say than it is distracting of you not trying to be distracting as you're filming me. That's not as distracting as you talking and being distracting. Allen Iverson, in his career in the NBA, made over $200 million. How much do you think he's worth today? $1 million. How is somebody who makes $200 million during their career only worth $1 million a couple decades later? The reason is because, one, he's bad with personal finance, but two, he never appropriately monetized his personal brand. Versus somebody like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan made $94 million during his career in the NBA, but because he properly monetized his personal brand, he's today worth $3 billion. Last year, 2023, he made $600 million alone off of one royalty deal with Nike. Like, that's the importance of building your personal brand. And to me, it's interesting, it's fascinating because I've had the luck and the fortune to speak with some people with big followings and influencers and people who are, celebrities. And it's interesting to see who has built wealth and who has monetized their brand and who has not monetized their brand, and how unaware some celebrities are on how to monetize their brand or what to look for in a business. And so I thought it'd be interesting to share what I look for in opportunities to help monetize my personal brand in order to get the highest return on time. So I started building my personal brand, not even expecting or not even trying to build a personal brand. I literally just started posting on social media, on Facebook, right? It came out when I was in college. And so that was like the medium that I just started posting about deals that I was doing and how I'd flip a house. And I'd interview my CPA and I'd interview my attorney on different ideas and strategies in regards to real estate investing in order to try to help my buddies who were spending all their money drunk at bars on the weekends and say, hey, this thing called real estate is like actually something you can build some serious wealth with. And by just trying to share value on social media, I had people that eventually reached out to me about, how do I buy a property from you? How do I sell a property to you? How do we joint venture on deals? How do I invest or lend money to you? Or can I pay you to coach me on how to build my rental portfolio? It turned into this monetization of social media without many followers, maybe 1,000, 2,000 followers at the time, that I was able to turn into a multiple 9-figure, hundreds of millions of dollars real estate portfolio. We've raised over $125 million of private money. I've acquired over 6,000 apartments, multiple 7-figure consulting businesses, software business that's about to launch, and other things as well that are in the works, all because of having a personal brand. So this is what I look for in monetizing a personal brand. So I wrote down a few bullet points here, and as I go through these bullet points, I'm going to give you an example of a conversation I recently had with a celebrity, you would know their name, who told me, hey, listen, I have more followers on social media than I have money in my bank. And so I talked to this person about event, lifestyle experience type of retreat that they could host. And they brought the idea of, hey, I want to open up a cafe and restaurant in this town and brand it to kind of how people know me. And so I'm going to go through some of these bullet points and I'm going to say, what's the difference between opening up a cafe versus having some sort of experiential event or retreat as a celebrity or as somebody with a social media following. So let's dive into each one of these. Monetizing your personal brand. Let's first talk about startup cost. So when I think about startup cost, I think about if I want to open up a cafe, I actually have to go in, take a look at the space, I have to outfit the space, I have to furnish the space, I have to spend a bunch of money in order, probably somewhere between a couple $100,000 up to $1 million plus, depending on how elaborate and how exclusive and how upscale you want it to be. Versus if I am hosting a retreat, right? There's not that upfront cost. You know what the upfront cost is? The upfront cost is simply putting it out on social media, saying who's interested in coming to this retreat, shoot me an email, shoot me a direct message, and I'll get you details on it. There's zero upfront cost, and it can gauge the interest of someone, and before you even put the event together, you know how many people are willing to raise their hand and pay for that service, right? So it's a very easy thing to monetize and understand the economic impact that it can make for you and how much money you can make from it if you just put it out there first. So cafe, $200,000 to $1 million. Having your own retreat, $0 startup cost. All right, so number 2 is going to be overhead expense. So if you want to open up a retail space like a cafe, you're going to have to hire employees. You're going to have light bills. You're going to have food. You're going to have inventory, things like that. They're going to create a substantial overhead expense. You know what the overhead expense is in order to host a retreat? It's minimal, especially if you partner up with somebody who knows and understands how to do events, live events, which is what I kind of proposed was, hey, I'll handle all of that. You don't have to worry about any of the overhead. I'll take on that entire expense. That's a great way for him to get into a business that can be monetized without taking on any overhead and no liability, right? Versus opening up a restaurant, opening up a cafe. You know what a cafe, with the liability on that looks like? Signing a 5 to 10 year lease. You go out of business in year 2, you're responsible for the next 8 years of that lease. Could you negotiate a settlement or a way to get out of it? Maybe, but it's going to include writing a big check in order to get out of that lease. That landlord's expecting you to pay rent for the next 10 years. If you only paid for 2, they're coming after you personally. Number 4, the time commitment. How much time do you think it takes to run a restaurant? Shit, it's when everybody else is not working, holidays, weekends, especially a cafe that is open early in the morning, stays open late at night. Like you're talking about, I don't know, 8 a.m. to midnight, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 365 days a year, including weekends, holidays, everything else. So the time commitment in order to open up a restaurant or a cafe is absolutely consuming. Could you build out a team? Yeah, but it's going to cost time. It's going to take money. It's going to you got to interview people. What happens if your manager leaves? You're still going to be thinking about it all the time. And there's still liability if somebody comes to your cafe, I don't know, maybe you serve alcohol, they get drunk, they get in a fight, there's a fire that starts in the kitchen. There's all these different things that create liability and additional time commitment and brain energy that goes into opening up a retail space. Versus hosting a high-end retreat, I take on all the liability, is essentially what I structured with him. And the time commitment for him is literally nothing. He's got to post a couple times on social media in order to sell tickets, and then he's going to show up for one day. Let's say we do 3 or 4 retreats a year. It's one day, 4 times, and I'll talk about the profit that he'll make in a moment. So the time commitment is 4 days a year versus 365 days a year. Next one, number of customers. You need thousands, maybe tens of thousands of customers in order to buy food and sell, let's say $100 bill, right? Between the foods and the drinks that they order and hanging out there. How many people do you need to actually sell $100 to in order to generate $1 million plus of revenue? You're talking thousands of customers, if not tens of thousands of customers. Versus high-end retreats, if we hosted 3 events with only 20 people at each event, that's only 60 customers out of your entire following that you need to be able to monetize in order to sell a high-end ticket. And we're gonna sell the tickets for $15,000. So the way that the retreat would be structured is this celebrity would come out 3, maybe 4 times a year based on how many events we had, and would show up for one day to this event. And they have like kind of a health component to it, and so we're gonna do a health retreat and do some fitness and nutrition stuff leading up to the retreat. It would be run by me, by my team, by the trainer, and then this person would come in for one day and essentially take pictures and hang out, work out, have fun, and have a good time with all the people. It might seem like $15,000 for a retreat is a lot of money. That's why we kind of created it with this health and training and nutrition program that leads up to that. And it allows somebody to get fit and meet a celebrity. People will pay top dollar in order to do that. I know people who don't even know the celebrity that said, hey, I would sign up, I'll write that check in order to come out, have the experience, and then also be able to take pictures with a celebrity and get tagged in this stuff. So here's the thing, you don't need a lot of people to be able to buy that. You need 20 people, 3, maybe 4 times a year, a total of 80 customers per year in order to have $1 million business. That's it. And then what does the margin look like? The margin for an average cafe and restaurant is 4%. 4% margin. And the average amount of revenue that a cafe does is $500,000 a year. 4% margin, right? That's how much profit you're making on $500,000 is 20 grand a year of net income. Even if this is the best cafe ever and they do 10 times that amount in revenue, that's $5 million a year from a cafe and restaurant. You got to sell a lot of cups of coffee in order to hit $5 million. $5 million a year at a 4% margin is still only $200,000 of net income for that much startup cost, for that much overhead, for that much liability, for that much time commitment, and dealing with that many customers. Versus the way that we've structured these events is show up 4 times a year, no startup cost, no overhead expense, no liability for the personal brand, the celebrity, time commitment of 4 days per year, number of customers, 60 to 80 customers, let's call it 80, and the margin is guaranteed $100,000 per event, making $100,000 per day, $400,000 a year of net income. That's the smart way to monetize your personal brand. You can do it in a consulting manner versus having to go out and have product lines, have inventory, take on liability, take on risk, take on startup cost, having a massive time commitment, needing a bunch of customers with skinny profit margins. Instead, think about ways that you can monetize your brand that's more in a consultative manner, right? Like I have a mastermind. So it's a coaching, consulting business that we host events a few times a year. You don't have to host events, right? But we do host events, and we have 200 people that are members of our community, and it generates a recurring residual income. We put a lot of money back in, but there's a lot of other ways to structure it where you can have a coaching or consulting or some sort of experiential type of retreat where they have much higher margins than any traditional business. Think about these things and weigh it out. Do a simple comparative chart of saying, here's all the different costs that are associated and the liabilities that are associated with putting this business together versus some other business, and weigh them all out and see where the costs, where the benefits are, and then it's going to be very simple in dollars and decimals what it looks like, because business is a math equation, right? There are some intangibles with time commitment, some other things, but you can even quantify that based on what is your time worth and how much is it going to affect your lifestyle and the time commitment that you can make to it. And if you're not a celebrity and you're looking to create a personal brand, these are the things that I would look at in order to, as you grow and as you create content and as you support people and as you educate and as you inspire and as that grows, you don't need a bunch of customers in order to build a big business, right? If you had 1,000 people that were following you, that are tribal, that are in your community, that love and respect and trust you, you can turn that into a 7-figure business with high profit margins if you're looking for these kinds of things and if you're weighing out these variables as you're looking for different business opportunities. So I hope this is helpful for you. If it was, please share it with somebody else who can get some good value out of this. Please like the video, please subscribe to our channel, and we will see you on a video next week. Until then, be your best.